how do we make more matter? Because if it's not found and we're responsible for making it, what do we do to manufacture it?
There's kind of two ingredients that drive all of our transformation. One of them is the understanding of the concept of I matter, you matter, and we matter. I matter is this deep understanding of ourselves and our gifts and our superpowers and our weaknesses, the good, the bad, the ugly of that. Then the you matter is understanding how we connect to those around us. We are powerful with our words, our thoughts, our actions. And so this you matter is how do we take that into the world and lift people up and serve one another that way. And then the we matter is understanding that we're part of something bigger and we're better together. And so the I, you, we matter are three perspectives that if people brought to their lives would be hugely consequential for them. But it only happens with the action part of it, because mattering needs to be experienced. It can't just be talked about. Our definition of mattering is we all have a role in creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and loved. And when you feel seen, heard, and loved, or if you help someone feel that same thing, you feel mattering happening.
The idea of job security is outdated as a landline. If you haven't been in a search for a while, it's probable you will at some point, by choice or not. Most executives admit to staying way too long or sense what's coming and justify staying anyway. Here, there's another reason. The faulty belief that navigating to what's next will inevitably be worse and has to suck. Screw that. Lauren Greif has spent a lifetime in corporate and executive search, calling bullshit on stale career advice that most still use. This is Career Blast in a Half, the career podcast for executives ready to cut past outdated career advice to fuel your outcomes now. So let's go.
Every single day. I mean, every day I get another call, prospecting, Zoom, something. And the underlying message is, I don't know what I am doing. I have no meaning in my life. I don't want another job. I want to go to work and feel a sense of purpose. I want to feel like I matter. I want to feel like what I'm doing has meaning outside of a job description and a title and all those things. And so I'm going to rewind and take you back for a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. I met the man who makes meaning matter. And his name is Matt. And Matt is going to talk a lot about this topic. But how I met Matt is a whole nother story. Out of the blue, it was a Sunday, I'm guessing around 3:30, 4 o'clock. And I see this post on LinkedIn and it says, you know what, I'm tired of this connection request and you got to do this and blah, blah, blah. Here's my number, call me. And I could see that the post wasn't up for that very long. I think I may have been, first time caller kind of thing. And I called him and he picked up. And he's like, who is this? And I'm like, dude, you are the one that put your actual phone number on a post and now we're friends. And it turns out we were more than friends because his friends happen to be my friends. So that's what happens when you actually put yourself out there and find out that you are not an island. You're connected to so many people and those people matter. And so then the people that matter to them matter to you. Matt, please tell us how you became the man who makes meaning matter.
Well, I will. But first of all, that post is still up on LinkedIn, by the way.
How many people?
Maybe like only 6 people.
Okay.
But what was interesting about it was I actually didn't write it for people to call me. I wrote it to try to demysticize this idea, right? Like we put these barriers up around ourselves and like friendship has to be scheduled now. And it's so frustrating to me. It's like, no, like our phone numbers are out there. Just share them and talk and connect. Like that's what we do as humans, or we're supposed to do as humans. So anyways, I love that you called me, and it was, you were the first caller for sure. And it really caught me off guard, and now look at us. So it's pretty cool.
I know. It's so cool. Bring us back. Like, tell us how you got to this epiphany and now movement around matter.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I wish I can brilliantly say that I woke up one day and said, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to start a movement around mattering. That's not so much how it happened. I think for anyone who, whether you have a faith background or not, there's that saying, like, someone said, like, God, where were you? And he's like, I sent you a submarine, a helicopter, an airplane, or whatever. I don't know really how it goes, but I was working in the music industry at a very senior level. I worked for Robert Kardashian and the Kardashian family, and I worked on projects for the biggest bands in the world. And on a Monday morning, I woke up and had a massive panic attack, which turned into chronic anxiety disorder and depression. And had days where I thought about taking my own life. And so I was in a very dark place, and I made the choice to put in the work, which we can talk about plenty. And that led me on this path of redefining like what mattered to me, and re-understanding like why my life matters. Because, working in the industry all those years, I think like what I thought mattered truly doesn't. And I learned the hard way through the form of a panic attack. So mental health issues is really the catalyst and the inspiration for what I've been doing the last 18 years of my life.
I don't know who is listening at this moment, but I know that these panic attacks are some of the best wake-up calls you can find. It's painful.
Yes.
And so when you were in this panic attack, where was the peel away? Where was the stuff that said, okay, this goes in the do not matter bin, and this goes in the, oh my goodness, like this really matters? Because when you're in your maybe earlier phases of life, what you think matters, sometimes you find out matters no more.
That's right. Absolutely. I got really lucky. Well, I'm lucky because I have an incredible family, and I was raised by incredible mom and dad, family values, all that bit. So for me, I had the foundation in place already. I just got a little off track, like working in the music industry for all those years and being surrounded by everything that was the fame, the fortune, the glam, the glitz, the red carpet, the celebrity. But I had a foundation. And then when I kind of, broke down, my family was there for me. But also, I met an incredible therapist. And I joke, I call her my expensive friend. And I think expensive friends are awesome. And we kind of made a pact that she would save my life and I would pay for her daughter's college education, is pretty much how it went down. And they went to Pepperdine, which is an inexpensive school. But we went to work. And I think the first thing where it started, honestly, before I got to what's working, what's not working, what has to go, what do I need more of, we just kind of had to like steady the ship. Like my boat had a lot of holes in it and it was taking on water very quickly. So we just kind of had to get me out of crisis mode. And then the next phase of that was looking at the world around me. So my relationships, for the most part, understanding which ones were life-giving, which ones were life-taking or sucking. There is a nickname for anxiety disorder, and that's the people pleaser disease or the nice person's disease. So you're saying yes to everybody else except yourself. You have no boundaries. So there was a lot of work that was done there, which is not easy, realizing that you have to step away from relationships that were a big part of your life, having those critical conversations with people that are not, there's tough love stuff, and then after going through that, the final phase was my therapist said, I want to give the final part of your journey a motto. And that motto was, she said, you're never going to fully feel healed and better until you know what it means to live a life that's not about you. And that final phase of that was the thing that really got me connected to the much larger world and the role I played in the fabric of humanity, if you will. And for me, it ended up in the form of service.
Mm-hmm.
And so picking up litter, feeding homeless people, reading the elderly, and that form of service. So it's like there was this internal healing at first, then relational healing, and then serving the greater good process. And that was really the flow of my journey to find mattering again.
So this is a tough one because I think that a lot of times when we see, I'll just call it, Stuart Smalley, woo-woo things, you matter, like, hey, all these things, they kind of get bucketed into a cliche bin.
Yeah.
And then we start thinking, oh, this is just another platitude or another Post-it that I put up on my wall. And I have to look at this every, now and again to kind of regroup. But what you say is that this you mattering is not up for debate. And what I really would like you to do is differentiate between your version of mattering so that people understand the amplification of this and why and how this matters so much, especially to our listeners who are in job positions and they are literally telling themselves, I just need a paycheck or, I can't, I got to take this job because, I've been on the market for such and such a period of time and, or I'll figure it out at some other point in time because other family situational things like getting my kids through school or living a certain lifestyle is what matters more.
Well, yes. And I think that those don't have to be necessarily mutually exclusive here because, hey, paying the bills matters, right? And,
Sure
and,
does. Yeah.
it does. And so if people need to get jobs, even if the jobs that maybe not be the ideal job that their dream job, we have to do what we have to do. Right. And my one suggestion there, even in those moments or the jobs where it's not your dream situation, I still believe you can find mattering in it. Right. And so I was just talking to a friend of mine and he's like, hey, well, we just got one of these new tractor lawnmowers. And we can't use it until we clear the sticks off of the grass. And so we have to go clear the sticks. And at first he was like, I'm so not into this idea. He's like, but I realized I can make this like a fun thing for me and the kids. And so even clearing sticks off the grass before he mowed it became something that mattered. And he made it an experience and a moment with his children as they did this. We can still find that meaning in jobs that we don't love necessarily. But I mean, ultimately, yes, Post-it notes and I write on white walls, whiteboards a lot, and those platitudes, they might be helpful, but it is a deeper journey than that to me. It is asking the harder questions. It is really sitting down and understanding what makes your heart sing. And I so much for me, and I know I can't assume for everybody, but I just the way I connect to the world was such a big part of my healing. And, all my books end up in the self-help section of a bookstore, right? And the idea of a self-help section of a bookstore drives me nuts because I don't live in my own bubble. Like I don't live on a private island with a volleyball named Wilson where I can just, work on myself all day. Look at the two of us, look how we met. And you've already impacted my life and I've already learned things from you and hopefully the same with, from me to you. And so as we navigate this thing of understanding ourselves, understanding our connection with other people, in Africa, they call it Ubuntu, I am because of ye, we are because of we. It's all in that kind of recipe where I think that we find this mattering, but it just can't be an internal thing. It's all about me. I live my life by the motto, I matter, but it's not about me. And there's a beautiful irony in all of that. I would suggest for people, yes, we can try to do these things that help us feel better and feel happy, but they're not as lasting as this real deep work and figuring out how to connect on a much broader level.
So I want to move this slightly to how to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what you can do to maintain a level of meaning. your movement, Monday Matters is your now articulation legacy movement towards mattering. I know all about the billboards in Times Square, and I know also about your books. I mean, some of these have 52 ways to matter, right? There are lots of ways. But what I also want to understand is how, in your idea or kind of pathway, do we make more matter? Because if it's not found and we're responsible for making it, what do we do to manufacture it?
Right. We can't just manifest it, right? Like and just sit there and, if you think it, it'll happen. No. This stuff, it absolutely requires action. And then we're really big on that. So with Every Monday Matters, with my nonprofit, with my books, there's kind of two ingredients that drive all of our transformation, all of our programming. And I think maybe those are helpful for individuals as well. One of them is the understanding of the concept of I matter, you matter, and we matter. So I matter is this deep understanding of ourselves, the good, the bad, the ugly of that, right? Like we're all unique. And I often say, like when I get hired as a keynote speaker, like I can make this keynote 30 seconds long. I could say, hey, listen, out of 8 billion people in the world, there's only one of you. Okay. And if that does not make you special and unique, and for you to understand how much you truly matter to this world where there's only one of you, I don't know what else to tell you, right? I could just like stop there. But this idea of understanding self and our gifts and our superpowers and our weaknesses, then the you matter is understanding how we connect to those around us. Adults, we make 38,000 decisions or choices a day on average. Now, some of those might be, what shirt am I going to wear today? Not the most consequential choice, but a lot of those are how I reach out to those people around me. And one of my biggest pet peeves is that no one talks to each other in elevators, for example. Like, it's like we would rather ignore the person standing next to us than just say, hey, how are you? I hope you're having a nice day. And there's studies where people stare at the numbers above the doors, so they're just saying hi. And so we are powerful with our words, our thoughts, our actions. And so this you matter is, how do we take that into the world and lift people up and serve one another that way? And then the we matter is understanding that we're part of something bigger and we're better together. And so the I, you, we matter are three perspectives that I think if people brought to their lives at any given time, professionally or personally, would be hugely consequential for them. The other thing that we do then, the other second piece, is that we ask this question all year long. And the question is, if there's one word that the world needs more of today, what is that one word? And so we collect these one words all year long. And from those values, I will tell you, back in the day, Lauren, it was like, we need more adventure. We need more play. We need more, art, this kind of stuff, which is great. Today, we need more compassion, more empathy, more honesty, more respect. Like, we've seen these values shift over these last 15 years to something that is much more heartfelt. Have a lot more gravitas to them. You feel them. And so what we do then is we pick 12 of these values every year, and we then figure out a way to drive those values into systems or into people's lives. And so, for example, we will take 12 of those values, and every month we'll have a theme. So Monday gets compassionate, Monday gets empathetic, Monday gets honest. And then every Monday, hence Every Monday Matters, is a strategy to drive that value. And so to give you an example, and the listener's example, so let's say that the value was kindness. So this month, let's say it's Monday gets kind. And this week, the strategy is use your words. And so in an I matter sort of way, using your words, maybe do an audit on your self-talk. What words do you use when you're talking to yourself about yourself? Most of us are not super kind with that. In a you matter sort of way, we might do a fun thing like, go compliment 5 people today. Just give it a shot, right? And in a we matter sort of way, I don't know, maybe you get crazy and you create like a kindness booth or something, for your company's headquarters, and people go in there and they say kind things to each other. But again, it's this combination of I, you, we matter, monthly values, weekly strategies, and that whole thing gets put into a mix. In schools, it's curriculum. In companies, it's employee engagement programs, culture work, keynotes, etc. Now in our senior living program, it's weekly engagements for our seniors to reconnect to their purpose and their mattering. But those are the key ingredients of our transformation. Like if we say our self and social transformation, and if you apply those to your life, again, they'll have profound impact. But it only happens with the action part of it. Because mattering needs to be experienced. It can't just be talked about. And when you're doing something that matters to you and matters to the world, you feel it in your heart. It has an impact on you. And it's like one of those things that's hard to describe necessarily. Our definition of mattering is that we all create a role. We all have a role in creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and loved. And when you feel seen, heard, and loved, or if you help someone feel that same thing, you feel mattering happening.
It's totally reciprocal. I mean, it really is. And, as a grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous, we always say service is the secret, right? Yeah. It's so good. It's so good that you don't know if you're the one benefiting or if they're benefiting, right? Because it works in both directions. I really appreciate that you shared the definition of mattering, and for being seen, because there's a lot of dissension going on in our world right now. A lot. That it's very easy for there to be less seeing of each other and more of that divide. And so I would really love to understand also in that process and how you are literally operationalizing meaning.
Yes.
We can come out of this, in addition to some of the things that you've done. What would you want people to do either every Monday or on a regular basis to start building this practice? Because this isn't going to just happen because you listen to a podcast. I can promise you that.
That's
so
right.
bring us to the action part of how we can all take some immediate mattering self.
Yes.
We.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is going to sound like a commercial, but it's so not a commercial. But if they went to everymondaymatters.com and signed up for the newsletter, every Monday they would get a newsletter with something they can do.
Right.
It's free. They can buy, at any of the books. I think a good place to start is like understanding like what truly does matter most to you. And what I have found when I talk to people about what matters most to them, and then they look at their schedule, they look at their life and how much time they're spending on those things or not, you can quickly see how we feel out of alignment. And so, for me, I really dug into, family, friendships, health, spirituality, being in nature, all these different parts of my life that I know for me are they're just very life filling, and I can also be of service in those areas as well. So I think that's a great start. Other thing for me, like when times get uncertain, when times get a little bit rocky, and certainly we're feeling that right now, I lean heavily on the values, my value system. There's just certain things about me that they're just non-negotiable. And even when times get tough, I know I'm going to show up with integrity. I know I'm going to show up with kindness. I'm going to respect people. I'm going to be empathetic. And so in a way, I can always fall back on those values because that's just at my very, very core of what really matters to me. With what's going on in the world today, maybe it's going to offend some of the listeners. I don't know, but I do this word cloud thing in my keynotes where I ask that question: what's one word the world needs more of today? And in real time, people can put on their phones their answers, and it shows up on the screen. And so you're seeing these words come up again. Love, kindness, understanding, respect, compassion, empathy. You're seeing all these words build this cloud in real time with hundreds of inputs. And recently I was doing a keynote And someone thought it would then be fun to kind of make it a political thing as well. And they started entering the word Trump. And for me, I'm an independent. I'm not Republican or Democratic. But what was shocking to me was as I saw that word Trump, and then I saw all these values that were wrapped around it, there was complete misalignment. And so for me personally, it's like, yes, like I want a leader who's empathetic. I want a leader who's compassionate and who's kind and loving. And so there was a value system thing, policies aside, like politics aside, all that is completely aside. Just the character part of it for me was like, wait a second, we all want this. This whole room wants this. But then how can this word exist with all of that? Because they don't seem to be in alignment with each other. And that's part of, I think, some of the dissension and the confusion. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is going to happen. And we can say how different we want to say we're different. But I will tell you that every single human I've ever met wants to know that their life matters. And I don't care what party you are. I don't care what shape you are. So anything. We all want this. We want to feel purpose. We want to feel meaning. And we're all searching for it. And, one day we all appeared in this world and life can be beautiful, but it can also be quite messy. And the more, go ahead.
One other thing that I actually started to do this, I was using my my buddy Claude to figure this out. Like here I am, 60 years old, and I'm thinking like, I mean, I'm doing the math, right? How many more summers do I have?
Yeah.
How many more of this? How many more of that? If you're over 40, guess what? It's not infinite.
Right.
It's not. And in this discussion and so much of what happens in the workplace, it's not about a lot of the things that we may have thought, number one, at least from my experience, but the money gets old pretty fast. You get into that job and you start seeing, where the cracks are. And there's a misalignment with culture. What I would love for you all to do, and we'll of course include the link below, is join this newsletter, be part of the action. Don't just listen, put it into real life mattering opportunities, and then take advantage of it, because I know that this was a big thing even before COVID, but the level of connectedness is also part of the disease of isolation, right? You are not connected. It's hard to matter to the rest of the world, even if you matter so much to yourself, right?
That's a 1,000,000%. And, you're taking me back, Lauren, to when I wrote my first book in 2007. So a little bit of context here. When my therapist said to go live a life that's not about you, and I went and did all these things, for whatever reason, picking up litter kind of became my thing. And so I would go out in LA Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. and I would be by myself with rubber gloves and garbage sacks picking up other people's trash. And for whatever reason, I found so much peace and joy. Like I knew the dog walkers and the Meals on Wheels people and the UPS drivers. And it was like my Zen moment of the week for 2 hours picking up other people's litter, right? It's kind of wild. And when you become kind of like a semi-professional trash picker-upper, one thing you'll learn is that cigarette butts get littered a lot. And so I did some research on this, and I learned that in America, we smoke 300 billion cigarettes a year. This was, I think it's less now, but back when I did this, 300 billion cigarettes a year, and we litter 100 billion butts a year. And so I figured out that if you put 100 billion cigarette butts end to end, they go from LA to New York 337 times a year. So every year with our cigarette butt litter, we build this cigarette butt freeway across our country, basically, right? And what I found fascinating about that was, I promise you, not a single person who littered their cigarette butt thought that it mattered. Like it's just one butt, right? But it shows you the power of like just one, but just that one little action. And if enough people do it to the negative, like littering a cigarette butt, we see what we produce. Well, what happens if we did it for the positive? And what if we all just took one little action? And I could tell you, for me personally, it changed my life. It just every single Saturday at 9 a.m., I went to do one little thing that wasn't about me, and it changed my life. But my thought was, what if 300 million people in our country also went and picked up trash on the same day? Even if they just picked up one piece, it's still 300 million less pieces of trash on the streets. And it really became a numbers game of, what if we can get more and more people to hug, or to call a friend, or to pick up a piece of litter, or plant a tree, or feed a homeless. That's really what it was. It was just a numbers thing around people taking action. And it wasn't so much, I'm going to go out there and tell 300 million people that they matter. It's no, I'm going to go get them taking action, and then they're going to get to experience their mattering.
I'm so inspired by this, because in addition to what we've talked about politically, I hear a lot of trash talk about the marketplace, right? Oh, the horrible recruiters and this and that, it's the market, and, ageism and all those things. Yes, they exist.
Yes.
But so do other things, just like your cigarette story. So do other things. So lean into those, because it will always be there. And one of the things you talk about is that this is a choice, right?
It's a choice
in the road.
It's a choice.
Put some energy and what you get to see and then experience as a result of it. Because if you focus all your time, energy, attention over there on how sucky it is, it will be sucky.
It will be sucky for sure. And to those who have jobs, corporate jobs, I do a lot of work with companies, and one of the things that I learned very quickly is people love to talk about their culture at work. And they talk about it usually not favorably, right? If back to your point. But the other thing is, they talk about it as though it's something that exists over there, and I'm standing here and I'm observing it and I'm judging it and I'm letting you know it's not good. But that's not really how corporate culture works. Like, if you work there, you're part of the culture. And so the choice we get to make is, do we just complain about what we say is over there, or do we realize that we're right in the heart of the whole thing? And to use a Gandhi quote, like, be the change you wish to see in the world. Like, what can you do every single day to try to help shift the culture to a place where you'd want to work?
And even if you're not working, you get to change the culture of what that job search looks like. You get to redefine it in your own pathway. I say this all the time because I feel so vehemently invested in this. If you hate your job search, it will be a white knuckle, horrible experience, and you will become part of the herd that complains about how bad it is. I'm not going to tell you that it's a cakewalk either, but surround yourself with other people who are actually taking this opportunity and seeing it as an adventure to maybe redefine themselves, to pivot in some other industry, to be able to do something where they can have their great new job and be compensated for it. You get to redefine what that means on your terms, but it will not happen in an applicant tracking system, and it will not happen without you involved.
No, it won't. And there's always things to be learned, right, in this process, even in trying to find a job. And hey, I don't want to belittle it. I know it's not easy right now. I have several friends who are really struggling with it, but I promise your odds of getting that job, if you approach this from a place of positivity, from a place of seeing it as an opportunity to not only learn and grow for yourself, but also make the process more enjoyable for everyone you come in contact with along the way, your chances of success in finding that job and that meaningful job that you're looking for are far greater.
100%. So all of your links to your books, to your non-for-profit, to you will be in the show notes. And of course, huge thanks for busting a move, for sharing the whiteboard behind you with your next book.
My mad scientist.
Yes. And for those of you who are listening, Thank you. A huge thank you. You matter. 100% you matter. You are our listeners, and we are so grateful to you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please write a review, click the 5 stars, do your thing. That would matter to us. And also get a friend to subscribe, because we are growing this podcast, and every single one of your ears, the 2 that you have, and maybe somebody else in the car or along the walk with you, is also deeply appreciated. So we'll see you next week, and thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining today. We appreciate your listening ears. Big time. We ask this: use these tools, not tomorrow, right now, and share them by spreading the love, leaving us a rating and subscribe so you don't miss the next career blast in a half. Most of all, thank you for you.